Hello, and welcome to the SMAGcast. It's not as disgusting as it sounds. I'm Kevin Heyman, and this week we're doing things a little bit differently. Normally we get together every 2 weeks for a roundtable discussion. Well, every other week now you will be getting single servings of each of us. So it's basically a good way to get to know the individual members of the Super Mega Awesome group and let them discuss any topic they want without fear of being interrupted or contradicted, or stopped in any way. So that being said, we'll launch right into it.
Hello, this is my 10 to 5 minute segment of the SMAGcast this week. I have nothing to say to you people, whom I love, each and every one, whoever the hell you are. I have been working on a mod for Skyrim called... Well, it doesn't have a name yet. We're tentatively calling it Not Atmora, which is the continent which the Nords originated on, from where they came down and settled Skyrim and all that crap. And basically it's a splinter settlement, and I guess I'm not supposed to say much more than that. There will be followers that you can acquire after completing certain quests. There will be a couple settlements that you can deal with, and a few dungeons that you can crawl through, all of which should have related quests, and new monsters or new versions of old monsters, all depending on how badly I do trying to create all that stuff, because so far I have made the world space, monsters, armors, yada yada blah blah. It doesn't matter. Other people are working on other things. We have somebody that's done some texture work that has been really nice. We've got somebody that's working on lore but not reporting anything about what he's working on, so I'm not entirely sure. Like, I just make stuff up while I'm going, and then he mentions that he's working on lore, and I'm like, well, I just threw you a whole bunch of curveballs that you're going to have to deal with, because I don't know what's going on, so I just have to make stuff up to entertain myself, to keep, there's no reason to make a dungeon unless I know what's in the dungeon, so I start making a dungeon, and I go, well, I think this will be populated by root spriggans, and then it's just like, I guess I should tell the lore guy, so he can figure out how to make that work in this context. There has been some drama in my live stream channel. Most recently, apparently some guy wanted to buy the mod, but he wasn't a very nice person, and he definitely went behind my back to one of the other members of the team, and then he dropped in and started harassing one of the other members of the team in the live stream channel. And now I'm just kind of paranoid, because I don't know what the fuck that was about, why anybody would choose to do something like that. It's like, just find your own thing and do it, or try to participate in a useful manner, but don't come in and start talking shit to people. That's all as long as I wield the banhammer, that's not going to be allowed. I don't want to deal with it. I don't have time to deal with it, and I find it very, very annoying. There's been some other drama, some people that, I don't know, it doesn't matter. That has been mostly resolved, except now the people who thought they were reasonable, well, actually, they've come back too, so I think it's mostly resolved. Some of the people who I hoped would stick around have found other things to do, like play Morrowind and reinstall it 5 times a day, which is fine. That's, I don't have any control over what other people do, and I don't seek to have it. I just miss people every once in a while. I really shouldn't stare at the recording while I'm recording, because that just makes me shut down. Is there anything else going on in Calyps / Warren's life right now? My sister is in town visiting with her new child, whom I have yet to actually see because it's always asleep in another room, and I'm starting to actually kind of doubt that it exists after 3 days. I have certainly seen her other child, her older child, several times. He and my dog love each other very much in a non-weird way. CNHF is doing all right. It could be doing better, but I'm not too worried about it. We're about to release 2.0, which is, it's almost done. Well, I mean, it'll be slightly less, it'll be slightly more realistic. Gravity will affect body parts which are known for having a gravitational relationship. They will not bounce. I still haven't convinced myself that that is a useful feature in any way, shape, or form, other than like maybe some mild bounce on the fatty areas of the body. But if I did that, I would love to be able to do that on like every fatty area of the body, like behind the biceps, naturally the butt, but the thighs too, and even the belly. I mean, the belly moves. Everybody's belly moves when they move, unless they don't have any fat. And CNHF has fat, so because we're not making a show model or a whatever you call it, a bodybuilder who cuts fat by doing ridiculous routines and stuff. We're making someone who goes out and kills monsters and stuff, and then comes back and eats so they don't starve, and doesn't look in a mirror ever, or most of the time at least. So CNHF has fat and muscle, and it looks pretty good. But that's just a side effect of being a female body. Female bodies look good. What do you want me to say? It's not designed to look any particular way other than tough and warrior-like. I would say more about the mod, but now I'm a little leery after that creepy, weird incident. I mean, good for them wanting to buy a unfinished Skyrim mod, and I totally get why gaming companies hide everything that they do and very carefully, put out press releases and information. I still find it very annoying when you just want to know, when like the entire fan base wants to know something very specific that won't affect anything. I still find it very annoying when somebody like, say, the SWTOR or Sweater team sits on information forever and ever and ever. But part of that is because they have no intention of doing that thing that the fan base has been demanding in large numbers very loudly for a very long time, and that's why they don't make any statement on it. Oh well. Anyway, I think I have just about reached my mark on this, so I'm just going to say y'all have a good Sunday afternoon, or whatever day it happens to be that you listen to this. And on to the next person, or on to nothing at all. Probably on to Kevin, because he's going to put his little mark on it. Alright, bye.
Greetings, SMAGcast listeners. It's me again, and it's time for my soapbox moment. So, one of the things I've thought about talking about is webcomics. Specifically, how I get into them, how I see the world of webcomics now, stuff like that. So, let's talk about how I got started, which some of you may have heard this story before. Stop me if you heard this one. I started doing webcomics back in '99 after finding Sluggy Freelance on Christmas Eve. I read the whole archive at that point, which was like, I think, 3 or 4 years worth. Fell in love with it. I also thought, I can suck this badly. I was like, and besides, I've been looking for something to get me going. And Coda's World was going to be sort of practice. I had this other idea I was going to do called Morphus. You will never see Morphus anywhere now. Well, the next day, Christmas Day, got done with Christmas festivities, I drew a webcomic. Very first, 4-panel strip of Coda's World. And I was thinking, do it like Sluggy Freelance, do it like a daily comic in the paper, whatever. And I showed it to my friends, I was all proud, and then I didn't touch it again until April. Our circle of friends had a bit of a tragedy almost happen. And I realized I had this comic I hadn't touched, and I thought, well, this is my therapy. This is how I'm going to get through this terrible thing. So I started doing the comic. And I drew the first one, showed it to my friends. They're like, that's funny. You did reference some stuff one of our friends did. That's amusing. And then later in the week, I did a second one. I was like, yeah, hey, that's 2. I'm probably not going to finish this, but that's 2. And I showed it to one of my friends, and he said, what, you did another one? And the surprise on his face and in his voice, I think I kept doing Coda's World to spite him and everyone else that thought he'll never finish. Maybe that's not a good, pure reason to keep doing webcomics, but it worked. Coda's World ran for 5 years. It didn't stop because I ran out of ideas or because of any of the typical web cartoonist reasons you stop doing a webcomic. It stopped because I reached the end of the 5-year plan. So that is one of my proudest things, is that I finished a webcomic. It may not have been a terribly good webcomic, but people love the characters, which is really what I wanted. I wanted to make characters that people would just absolutely love, and a lot of them did. I had some really rabid fans, and that was great. I was internet famous for a while. Well, took about a year off after Coda's World ended because I just finished a 5-year epic. I was planning on taking... It wasn't really a year even. It was like 6, 7, 8 months, something like that. I was just going to take a break, not work on anything. Then I started to go crazy. Part of it was I wasn't doing comics anymore. Part of it was I needed to create. I had to tell a story. So I started with a comic. Actually, I started 3 comics. Errant Apprentice, Monkey's Tales, and Jibo. Jibo was going to be the direct sequel to Coda's World. Monkey Tales was going to be Monkey, one of the side characters from Coda's World, in his own series, and there was the Errant Apprentice. Well, didn't quite work out. Errant Apprentice took a lot of planning. I'd started it like twice before, during Coda's World, I think. And the story just kept not going anywhere. First, I didn't like the main character because he was a jerk. And then when I got the main character decided on, Terry, I didn't know where I was going with the story. I got to this one part and I was like, well, what the hell's the point? Why did Magic come back? Why is he doing this? What's the point of any of this? And then I listened to a song, I've told this story hundreds of times, by XTC called Green Man. Suddenly the whole story came into my head. I knew why I was doing it. I knew what I was doing. And that is, as they say that. I started Errant Apprentice. I haven't looked back except for a few, brief periods where there were problems. Or, my personal life got in the way. But I always came back to it. Now, Jibo, I didn't have a reason to do it. Honestly. It was just, I wanted to keep going with Coda's World, and I realized that I don't have a purpose with this. So I stopped doing it. It's not an hiatus. It's over. I'm never going back. The other series, Monkey Tales, one day I wouldn't mind going back to it, I suppose, but I kind of ran out of steam on everything. It's kind of like what happened here recently with Mailbox Rocket Ship, which I will definitely be going back to. Mailbox is a retelling of Coda's World, with the plot simplified, the characters youthed, I guess, made younger. They're in high school now, and it works better. It feels better, but I can't concentrate on it. If I were just doing that, great. If I was just doing Errant Apprentice, great. But what I've learned is I can't concentrate on more than one story at a time because all of them suffer. So, it's just Errant Apprentice until the end, which, there is an end. I have it in sight. I know where this series is going, and I'm going to get there. And then I'll go back to Mailbox, because, surprisingly, I thought Mailbox wasn't going to be terribly popular. It's just one of those series that I thought, I'm going to do it for me, nobody's going to give a crap except for, Paul. And it turns out, Mailbox was getting quite popular over on Smack Jeeves. Well, I couldn't keep doing it, so I put up a page saying I'm going on hiatus, and I hope everyone will join back when it starts back up. But, it won't be the first time I've had to completely rebuild my reader base. I think the basic idea here is that I do, in fact, need to create. I have to do something that tells stories, and that's why Errant Apprentice came to the world sometime in early to mid 2006. And it's been going ever since, like I said, minus a couple of, breaks. And I don't know. It's that drive to tell a story, that drive to get these characters out there. In my head, they're going to be there anyway. I may as well share it with the world. I'm sure that probably counts as paranoid schizophrenia or, multiple personalities or psychosis or something. But I don't care. As long as I'm making comics, I'm happy. And for all those out there that might be interested in trying to do a webcomic, I've got a few pieces of advice. Number one, if you're trying to do a story, a continuing story, not just like a daily strip, I've got some advice. Number one, know where you're going. Know where the story ends. Number two, stories are important, plots are important, but characters are more important. You can have a great plot, but if nobody cares about the character that the plot's happening to, they're not gonna stick around. Make them human, make them believable, make them someone the person wants to know about. 3, never stop improving your art. And I know that sounds like a big duh thing, but there are so many comics out there I've read where the art hasn't changed in 10 years or more. Never stop improving. Never stop drawing. Never stop thinking, I wonder if I can try this position. I wonder if I can draw somebody from this angle. Even if you fail, you learned how to not do it next time. Okay, well, that being said, I'm gonna hand this off to whoever's next, and I will see you guys at the round table next week. Later.
What's up, guys? It's Mike here. Today we're going to be talking about fandoms, or more specifically, when fans decide, or a small set of fans decide that their favorite franchise has been ruined forever. Not to confuse us with when a franchise legitimately jumps the shark. That is, you can tell, after the fact that there was a specific point where the quality declined. This is in the middle of the run, or in the middle of the ongoing franchise. People just become panicky and decide that this certain event has ruined their fandom forever. And I bring this up because, one, that I've not heavily into fandom, but I tangentially butt up against it, at least the fandom part of it, is that I've actually seen people this week claiming that a extension of their favorite series has retroactively destroyed their love of this franchise. That something that has happened now has now made them not like everything that's come before. That makes no sense to me. I mean, you liked it before. Just because something, and it's not even the franchise itself is changing, it is a tangent to it. It is an offshoot, not really a spin-off, but something that more or less isn't going to affect the future of this franchise. There's a flip side to this, I guess. I would like more shows to change. I mean, I think that's what it boils down to, is people are afraid of change. Maybe fandoms bring people some sense of security and stability. But let's look at a series that is still ongoing, but hasn't changed at all. The Simpsons. Oh God, I wish that show would change. I mean, look at, what was it? I don't even know what season it was. Probably like season 3 or 4, where they had the future episodes with like Lisa in college and all that. Why didn't they do that? Instead, we have these eternally non-changing characters. I mean, sure, it's a comedy series, but it's been going on for, 20 years or something like that? And it's just stagnant. I mean, if it was a pool of water, you wouldn't drink out of it. So, I guess I don't have anything else to go from there on that. But it just boggles the mind that this happens. And the Ruin Forever I got from reading a Transformers wiki, actually. They have a entry on that. And apparently, according to the fans, Transformers has been ruined 15 times. And some of these are, I guess, credible, like Bayformers, the Michael Bay. I mean, but that doesn't mean G1's ruined forever. Well, G1's kind of crap anyway. I mean, try to go back and watch that. Yeesh. So, in conclusion, people, stop being so panicky. Well, on to a bit of news. Nintendo and YouTube have started to use YouTube's Content ID system this week to identify YouTube videos of Nintendo games that are monetized and give that revenue directly to Nintendo. I'm not too thrilled about this. I watch a few Let's Players, and while I know of none who derive any significant portion of their content from Nintendo games, I think it still sets a bad precedent for other game companies. I mean, look at EA. They're probably salivating over this right now. Marcus Notch Presson of Minecraft said that he was also approached with the same deal, but turned it down. Although I've heard reports that he's said that the deal sounded tempting. I see no good sides to this. I mean, YouTube terms of service do say you're not allowed to monetize videos of games that you don't own the copyright of the game. But also, on the other hand, Nintendo is burning a lot of the goodwill and free advertising that Let's Players bring. I mean, they own the copyright to the game. They own the copyright of the images and sounds and everything, but it's very short-sighted, I think. I've never watched a Let's Play of a game and thought, hey, I've gotten the experience of this game out of the video, so I'm not going to buy the game. There's several games I've bought because I've watched people playing it on YouTube and gone out and bought it. It looked like fun. It's a very tricky situation. I don't think giving Nintendo the ad revenue is the right thing to do. Not that I can tell you what the right thing to do is. I mean, and on the Let's Player side, there are a significant body of Let's Players that's their job now. They've made enough off their ad revenues to quit their day jobs and just put out content. I mean, these are people out there that do, 5 to 8 videos a week. And with pretty high production values for, YouTube Let's Play videos. I just think this isn't a very forward-thinking policy. I guess it all just comes back to our broken and corporate-centric copyright and patent system. Maybe someone should do something about that.
Hello, SMAGcast. It's Paul. I'm back again. We're doing this little one-off 10-minute session things in between the normal SMAGcast. So, some of you probably don't know who I am, so I thought I'd give you a little insight. Like I said, my name's Paul. I'm a graphic artist. Been so for 16 years or so. Love it. Absolutely love being a graphic designer. Permeates everything we do on a daily basis, whether you realize it or not. Everything had to be designed by somebody. Now, granted, houses by architects and things of that nature, but logo design, layout, websites done by website artists and whatnot. But the graphic design world, you see it all the time, but you might not realize it. I mean, next time you go to, say, Starbucks and get a cup of coffee, somebody had to design that logo. Somebody had to design everything that's on the cup. Prints on sheets. If you have sheets with a floral design, that had to be designed by someone. Things of that nature. And being a graphic designer and a freelance artist as well means that I've had many clients, some good, some really good, and some just downright terrible. So I thought I'd give you a couple of little stories about bad clients. Well, first off, A couple of years ago, I was sitting at my desk. I worked for a government agency as graphic designer, and one of the women who works in the support services role, I think she's an accountant, she came up to me and asked me if I had ever done design work for t-shirts. And I told her I have in the past, and what she needed. She said she had a friend who was looking to get some t-shirts done. And this just cracks me up thinking about it. I said, okay, well, I can do that provided they pay. I do things occasionally for free. I've done work for Red Cross for free, local Celtic Fest here that we have every year. And she said, okay, well, let me set you up with these two guys. And, see what we can do from there, because they have a business and they will pay. I said, great, no problem. I'll meet them wherever. I get the address, set up a meeting for that. I believe it was a Saturday. Maybe, no. It was a Sunday because there was nobody at the office. So I go out and I meet these two guys. We'll call them Ace and Fred because, that's their names. And I go in and I sit down with them. And they're two older gentlemen. And they hand me a piece of paper. And on it, it says Sojourner across the top and trucking vertically down the center underneath it. And to the side of the word trucking on either side are these two things. They look like honey buns, and they're on fire. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, so Sojourner Trucking, I get that. What are these things? And Ace looks at me and goes, see, that's them ears. I was like, oh, okay, those are ears. He's like, yeah, they ears, right? And they on fire. Because, people talk about you. And that's what they say when they talk about you. Their ears on fire. So, we got them ears and they on fire. Because, when people talking about you, see, because you got them ears and they on fire. I'm like, so, okay, so you want ears and you want to be on fire. And he says, yeah. Because, because when they talk about you, right, their ears on fire. Now, I'm not making up the way this guy talks. I'm actually kind of watering it down slightly just so it's easier to understand. But I looked at him and I was like, okay, so are you going to explain this to everybody that buys a t-shirt? Because me personally, I'm looking at that. I don't know what that is right offhand. So after a little bit of deliberation, I got them to change the ears to the word is. Because on the back of the shirt, they had on fire trucking. So apparently Sojourner Trucking is on fire trucking. That's all well and good. Not a big deal. So I do up the design for the front and the back. And they ask me, hey, could you design logos for both of the companies? I'm like, yeah, that's going to cost a little bit more. I'm designing two logos. I said, yeah, no problem. So I come up with a couple of logos. And they asked me to put the Sojourner Trucking logo at the top of the t-shirt. Which I was like, okay, no problem. You're the client and you're paying me. So the front of the t-shirt now says Sojourner Trucking. Sojourner Trucking is on fire trucking on the back. And they don't like that. They asked to put the logo at the bottom of the t-shirt. So now it says Sojourner Trucking is Sojourner Trucking. Okay, that's fine. I'm getting paid. Whatever. So I get that done. I ask them to give me the contact information for the print shop who they're going through. And the response is, yeah, see, we don't actually have the dude's, his phone number, because that'd be hard to call him, because we don't got his phone number, right? But, he's over there on Lynch Street. Like, well, that's all fine and good, but I kind of need to know, is this going to be black and white? Is it going to be color? What file formats they can use? Do I have to save, something legacy or in a previous version of the software? Yeah, see, we don't got his phone number, but he over there on Lynch Street. Like, all right, fine. What's the name of the business? Because he over there on Lynch Street, right? But, yeah. So, I was like, all right, fine. I'll just give it to you in several formats. If they need to get in contact with me, you have my email address, whatever. Never heard anything else about these shirts. But they did have an idea for another shirt. And this one was by far the strangest one of most of the designs I've done for them. Ace looks at me and goes, yeah, so check it out, right? I got this idea for another shirt, it's for the trucking company, it's for On Fire Trucking, right? And, see, on the front of the shirt, on one side, you got this woman, right? And she just stacked. You just, big old, and she just, you just look at her, you're like, damn, man, she just stacked. And she's just, you just looking at her, you're like, man. And then it says on the other side, right? It says, I know what you think you be smelling. ... Because he doesn't know that's called an ellipsis. But why would he? So, and then on the back of the shirt, it says, for I am the... And there's a picture of a toilet and the On Fire Trucking logo. And I'm like, you think you know what you're smelling because I'm the toilet? He's like, well, we can't actually say shit. So, yeah, On Fire Trucking. I don't think I ever did that one. I don't really remember. But they did call me back a little while after that. Because they had an idea that they were trying to sell to the IP on the coast, which is a casino. It was called Fantasyland. Their whole premise was Ace has all these wonderful ideas for things. And having spoken with them before and worked with them, I know that not to be true. Basically, they were going to take over like a big conference room at a casino, and in there every week have a completely different theme, and it would be filled with slot machines and whatnot, and people would go there just to be immersed in whatever theme they happen to have that week. And as Ace explained it to me, you go in there, right, and one week they give you a pickaxe and there's some rocks and you archaeologizing, right? And then, maybe the next week there's a volcano. And, it's like that old show, right? Fantasyland, Fantasy Island. And, 'cause you never know what's going to be in there. Maybe one week you go up there and they hand you $500 and you can just go on in. And then, sometimes it's like the TV show. You're walking up to a door and there's a midget there, but he's really 6 feet tall. You don't know. It's a fantasy. That one blew me away. So there's a midget, but he's really 6 feet tall. That was special. And they were trying to sell this to the IP who they thought were just trying to take the ideas from them, so they wouldn't give them all the ideas, because if they had all the ideas, then why would they need them? This sounds like a terrible waste of money, but when the initial talks with the casino didn't go through, they decided then that they would scale it back a little bit, and they came back to me again to add the words Low Rollers Club to the logo I had created for them, because they were trying to go after the poor people market, as they put it. I didn't get paid for that last part because I didn't call them to talk about payment, because I just didn't really want to deal with them anymore. Sometimes it's worth it not to deal with your clients. I can lose $100 and sleep better at night knowing that there's not a 6-foot midget somewhere out there in the world. So with that, I've been Paul for the SMAGcast, just giving you a little insight into what it's like to freelance as a graphic artist. So with that, I give you on to whoever is after me. Bye!
Actually, Paul, there's no one left behind you. That just leaves me to say goodbye to everyone, and we'll be back next week with our regular roundtable discussion. So until then, I've been Kevin Heyman, along with the Super Mega Awesome group, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
This has been the SMAGcast. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can reach us at thesmagcast@gmail.com. Our theme music is Out of School by Jazar from the album Traveler's Guide, available from freemusicarchive.org and used under Creative Commons license.